Jonah and the great fish long ago, in the land of Israel, there lived a prophet named Jonah, son of Amittai. Jonah was known for hearing God's voice and delivering messages to the people. One day, the word of the Lord came to Jonah, saying, "Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me." Jonah 1:2. Nineveh was a powerful city, known for its cruelty and sinfulness. But Jonah didn't want to go. He feared the people of Nineveh, and even more, he feared that if they repented, God would show them mercy. Jonah wanted justice, not forgiveness, for Israel's enemies. Instead of obeying God's command, Jonah ran away. He went down to the port, city of Joppa, and found a ship sailing to Tarshish, a distant place in the opposite direction of Nineveh. He paid the fare, boarded the ship, and sailed away, trying to escape from the presence of the Lord. The great storm as the ship ventured. Into the open sea, a mighty storm arose. The winds howled, and towering waves crashed against the vessel. The ship creaked and groaned under the strain. The sailors, hardened men of the sea, were terrified. Each one cried out to his God, begging for deliverance. They threw cargo overboard to lighten the ship, but the storm only grew fiercer. While chaos raged above deck, Jonah had gone below and fallen into a deep sleep. The captain found him and shouted, "How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take notice of us so that we will not perish." Jonah 1:6. The sailors, desperate to find the cause of the storm, cast lots, a common practice in ancient times to seek divine guidance. The lot fell on Jonah. They turned to him and asked, "Who are you? What have you done to bring this calamity upon us?" Jonah confessed, "I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land." Jonah 1:9. Terrified, the sailors asked, "What should we do to you to make the sea calm down for us?" Jonah knew the storm was because of his disobedience. He replied, "Pick me up and throw me into the sea, and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you." Jonah 1:12. At first, the sailors resisted. They rowed hard, trying to reach land, but the storm raged on. Finally, realizing they had no other choice, they prayed, "Lord, please do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man." Then they threw Jonah into the sea. Immediately, the storm ceased. The sea grew calm, and the sailors were awestruck. They offered sacrifices to the Lord and made vows to him. Swallowed by the great fishes, Jonah sank into the depths. The Lord appointed a great fish to swallow him. Jonah found himself alive inside the fish's belly, a dark, damp, and suffocating place. For 3 days and 3 nights, Jonah remained there, reflecting on his disobedience and crying out to God. From inside the fish, Jonah prayed, "In my distress I called to the Lord, and he answered me. From deep in the realm of the dead I called for help, and you listened to my cry." Jonah 2:2. Jonah acknowledged God's sovereignty and mercy, saying, "Salvation comes from the Lord." Jonah 2:9. Hearing Jonah's repentance, God commanded the fish to vomit Jonah onto dry land. Gasping for fresh air and covered in seaweed, Jonah stood on the shore, humbled and ready to obey. Preaching in Nineveh. Once more, the word of the Lord came to Jonah. "Go to the great city of Nineveh and proclaim to it the message I give you." Jonah 3:2. This time, Jonah obeyed. He traveled to Nineveh, a vast city that took 3 days to walk through. As he entered the city, Jonah proclaimed, 40 more days and Nineveh will be overthrown." Jonah 3:4. To Jonah's surprise, the people of Nineveh believed God. From the poorest peasant to the mighty king they repented. The king rose from his throne, took off his royal robes, and sat in ashes. He issued a decree: "Do not let people or animals, herds or flocks taste anything. Do not let them eat or drink, but let people and animals be covered with sackcloth. Let everyone call urgently on God. Let them give up their evil ways and their violence. Jonah 3:7-8. When God saw their sincere repentance, he had compassion, and did not bring the destruction he had threatened. Jonah's anger and God's lesson. But Jonah was angry. He prayed, "Isn't this what I said, Lord, when I was still at home? That's why I fled to Tarshish. I knew that you are a gracious and compassionate God, slow to anger and abounding in love, a God who relents from sending calamity." Jonah 4:2. Frustrated, Jonah went outside the city and sat down to see what would happen. God, in his mercy, provided a leafy plant to give Jonah shade. Jonah was glad for the plant, but the next morning, God sent a worm to chew the plant, causing it to wither. Then a scorching east wind and blazing sun beat down on Jonah, making him faint. Jonah, miserable, said, "It would be better for me to die than to live." Jonah 4:8. God responded, "Is it right for you to be angry about the plant?" Jonah replied, "Yes, it is, and I'm so angry I wish I were dead." Then the Lord said, "You are concerned about the plant, though you did not tend it or make it grow. It sprang up overnight and died overnight. And should I not have concern for the great city of Nineveh, in which there are more than 120,000 people who cannot tell their right hand from their left, and also many animals?" Jonah 4:10-11. Thus ends the story of Jonah, a reminder of God's boundless mercy, not just for his chosen people, but for all who turn from their ways and seek him. It also shows that running from God's calling leads to trouble, but repentance brings restoration and purpose.